This is 10's Late News with all the news you need this Monday. Tonight, late night peace talks in the nation's capital. Will the coalition make up following its latest breakup as One Nation nets a new recruit? Developing tonight, reports of a major health scare for former Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews. The family of an Australian woman killed in a ski lift accident in Japan releases a heartbreaking statement. Why the actions of police before a triple murder in outback New South Wales are now under scrutiny. Also tonight, a rape trial is about to begin in Norway. At the centre is the country's own royal family. Imminent financial collapse. Is the United Nations in a cash crisis? Why a UNESCO World Heritage Site is planning on turning back tourists. And
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
has a white Christmas come really early or too late in Tasmania?
Welcome to 10's Late News with Ursula Heger.
First tonight, there was the breakup, then the makeup, and then the breakup again. So much so, the PM is calling it reality TV. But this evening, the Liberal and National parties have held a crisis meeting in the hopes of repairing the coalition's rift. All as new polling numbers again showed soaring support for One Nation. Senior political reporter Chloe Boris joins us from Canberra tonight. So, Chloe, what has come out of tonight's episode?
Well, they're not back together, but they also haven't signed the divorce papers. So the leaders spoke for about an hour tonight to lay out their terms for any potential reunion. And this was the first time Susan Lee and David Littlepride have met since the split a week and a half ago. And refresher, the Nationals walked away after 3 of their senators were forced to resign for crossing the floor. Littlepride wants the trio reinstated, but Lee isn't budging. Now, I'm told the leaders are considering guardrails on how the coalition would operate to avoid those walkouts. The Libs are telling me the meeting was constructive and in good faith. The Nats say it was civil and cooperative, but don't think it'll be resolved by question time tomorrow afternoon, but they'll keep talking.
At least they're being civil. Well, Chloe, we have had confirmation tonight that a former controversial senator has also been recruited by One Nation.
One Nation has been teasing a new recruit, and we have confirmed it'll be announced tomorrow that Corey Bernardi will lead the charge for One Nation at South Australia's state election in March. He's running for the upper house. Now, you may remember Bernardi was a senator up until 2020. He was with the Libs, then started his own party, Australian Conservatives, which didn't do too well. In recent years, he's been a media commentator. Now, right now, One Nation's popularity is soaring well ahead of the fractured coalition. And according to the latest polling, Pauline Hanson's now the most popular political leader in Australia, surpassing even the Prime Minister. That South Australian state election, Ursula, will be the first real test to see if that polling actually translates into votes.
Should be interesting. Chloe Boris in Canberra there. Thank you. In developing news tonight, News Corp is reporting former Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews is recovering from a serious medical episode. The Herald Sun claims he was in a very bad way late last year after suffering what is being described as a neurological event, leaving him debilitated, but now he's improving following extensive rehabilitation. The 53-year-old was admitted to hospital before Christmas, but details about the reason for his admission have been tightly controlled. He has kept a low profile since retiring in 2023. A Sunshine Coast woman has been identified as the Australian who died in an accident at a ski resort in Japan. Christina Puljak joins us from Brisbane with the details. Christina, the woman's family is now travelling to Japan to say their goodbyes.
The family of 22-year-old Brooke Day released a statement earlier this afternoon. They said, "We are forever grateful for 22 years of our daughter and little sister Brooke. You will live on forever in our hearts and minds. Rest in power and shredded up there in the mountains in the sky." The Sunshine Coast local was working on a mountain resort in Nagano area when it's understood she got caught on a ski lift and was dragged into the air. She suffered cardiac arrest and couldn't be revived. It's still not clear exactly how the accident happened.
It's devastating. Thank you, Christina. Victorian detectives have revealed they strongly believe accused police killer Desi Freeman is dead and that his remains may be found in Mount Buffalo National Park. Investigators today launched a fresh search, part of the largest tactical operation the nation has ever seen. 100 specialist volunteers and cadaver dogs are being brought in. Rory Campbell has more from Paul Punker.
Ursula, police were led to this search area on the back of a series of developments, starting with reports of a gunshot heard 2 hours after the initial confrontation that ended in the deaths of Detective Leading Senior Constable Neil Thompson and Senior Constable Vadim Devat-Hotar. Desi Freeman is accused of killing the two officers and injuring a third around 10:30 a.m. on August 26th last year. This gunshot was reported to police as being heard at 12:29. Officers say they've been able to corroborate that. That led to them doing some acoustic testing of firearms in the area, which guided them to a search zone they swept through in December. They didn't find anything. This search, which has started today and is going through this week, is the next phase of that. It's going through an area that's adjacent to that initial search zone from December.
We have done extensive searching of the caves, the mines, the huts, the rivers. We are comfortable that we don't believe he is here alive.
Police have investigated more than 2,000 pieces of information about the possible location of Desi Freeman, including security vision taken from homes around the shooting scene. This is one recording that police have come across. Police ultimately determined that wasn't the gunshot which has led to this search that started today. This search could go throughout the week up until Friday, lasting 5 days. Police are working with three theories about the possible location of Desi Freeman. One is that he's elsewhere on the run with assistance. Another is that he's elsewhere on the run without assistance. And a third is that he's still in the Pawnpunker area, but he's no longer alive. And this search is tapping into that theory. Ursula, Victoria Police says catching Desi Freeman or finding Desi Freeman is still their number one priority, even 160 days on from that fateful day in August last year. Tip-offs could be valuable for investigators, particularly in the circumstances where Desi Freeman is still alive. A $1 million award is still on offer for any information leading to his arrest. Ursula.
Police will put their own actions under the microscope following a triple murder in the New South Wales Central West as the hunt continues for suspect Julian Ingram. Hannah Stewart joins us live from the Sydney newsroom. Hannah, what will the probe cover?
First, the critical incident investigation will examine the actions of police in the lead up to the shooting at Lake Cargelligo on January 22nd. It will also look at how Julian Ingram accessed guns without a licence alongside his full domestic violence history. Police say they launched the probe after receiving fresh information from the public, but they haven't divulged further details than that. Ingram was out on bail for alleged domestic violence offences when he's accused of gunning down his heavily pregnant ex-partner Sophie Quinn, her aunt Nerida Quinn and 32-year-old John Harris. The sole survivor, 19-year-old Caleb McQueen, is continuing to recover from multiple gunshot wounds. A large police presence remains on the ground, continuing the search for Ingram. The last reported sighting of him was over a week ago at a rural property south of Mount Hope, late in the night of January 24th and into the hours of the next morning. Police are continuing to rely on public tip-offs and believe that someone in the area knows where he is.
After 12 days in this heat and in the conditions he's in, I believe he is getting help from people, and again that's why we're appealing to members of the public to give us some support and obviously provide information about whether they have seen him, whether they've had contact with him or anyone they know has had contact with him.
Those conditions have also been gruelling for officers on the ground, with the temperature at times climbing well into the 40s.
Thank you, Hannah. And if you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence, there is support. Contact the 24-hour hotline, 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. Police have revealed new details about a man they allege murdered a 3-week-old baby boy in Brisbane. The baby was taken to Queensland's Children's Hospital in July of 2024 but died 4 days later. The baby was found with no obvious injuries, but police then launched an investigation. They arrested a 25-year-old man this morning. Nearly 200 volunteer firefighters are tackling an out-of-control grass fire on South Australia's Fleurieu Peninsula. Brianna Boylan joins us now, and Bri, the emergency warning has tonight been upgraded.
Earth residents in Deep Creek, Silverton and Cape Jervis are now in immediate danger, warned to take shelter in a solid building as it is now too late to leave. The blaze 85 kilometres south of Adelaide erupted late yesterday in the Deep Creek Conservation Park. Despite 230 drops made by fire bombers today, steep and inaccessible terrain along with strong winds are proving challenging for firefighters responding to the fast-moving fire, which is split into two fronts. More than 600 hectares of land have been burnt, with a strike team from the Metropolitan Fire Service called in to help protect infrastructure. However, conditions are now too dangerous for crews to prevent the blaze from spreading. They'll remain on scene tonight, doing everything in their power to protect the communities.
Thank you, Bri. Meanwhile, a number of bushfires have also threatened homes across Perth this afternoon as the temperatures soared above 40 degrees. Blazes were burning out of control in Bullsbrook to the northeast of the city, as well as Casuarina and Darling Downs in the south. At one stage, residents were warned it was too late to leave, with flames impacting the only evacuation routes. So far, there are no reports of property losses, with firefighters working to protect homes in the extreme conditions. The stepson of the heir to Norway's throne is facing dozens of criminal charges, including rape, with his trial beginning tomorrow. But we won't be seeing any royals in court. Marius Borg Høiby is not technically a royal. His mother married the Crown Prince of Norway when he was just 4 years old, and he's been raised in the family ever since. In 2024, he was arrested and charged with 38 offences, including 4 counts of rape against 4 different women, domestic abuse and drugs charges. His trial is set to last for 7 weeks, but his famous family will not be there. The Prince and Princess have confirmed as much and have said Marius is a private citizen and will be treated as such by the courts. But that is debatable. Norwegian media has reported that the palace was tipped off about his impending arrest and that his mother then cleaned his house. The case is being described as the biggest scandal Norway's royal family has ever faced.
Definitely have different opinions about the different members of the royal family. But in general, I think we still have sympathy for the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess. Even though this is a very serious case, I think we are able to separate Marius Borg Høiby from the monarchy and the job that the royal family are doing.
But it's not the only issue for Norway's royal family at the moment. They're also dealing with the fallout from the newly released Epstein files. It's been revealed that Crown Princess Mette Marit had years of contact with Epstein after his convictions for sex offences, which she has now admitted was poor judgment. The documents show the two emailed each other and that the princess spent time at Epstein's Florida home. To some developing news now, and after nearly 2 years, the Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt has finally reopened. But the number of people allowed to cross the border will be restricted to a small number. Heavy security checks are also being put in place. It follows a series of recent Israeli airstrikes on Gaza, which killed at least 32 Palestinians. Shoppers got more than they bargained for in an upmarket London suburb when the pair of crooks carried out a smash and grab in broad daylight. Shocked onlookers watched the thieves shatter the front window of the jeweller with hammers early on Saturday. Staff tried to bat them away, but the pair helped themselves and then fled. A young koala has found himself trapped in a car's grille following a high-speed collision in rural South Australia. Little Axel's survival, all thanks to the driver who stopped to phone a 24-hour rescue service.
A little guy lodged in metal. Axel the koala stuck in a car's grille after being hit on an 80-kilometre stretch of road.
He'd be about 18 months to 2 years old. He would have maybe left his mum about 6 months ago and started being off on his own and, just took a wrong turn.
The high-speed collision occurred at Kangaroo Saturday night. Axel, lucky to be alive thanks to the driver who stopped to call the 24-hour rescue hotline.
If he'd managed to get himself out, he still probably would have been fighting for his life, dealing with shock out in the freezing cold.
A delicate rescue mission was quickly launched to free the 6-kilo koala who miraculously escaped with just a scratch on his lip.
He'll have a pretty big headache. He's definitely acting like he's got the worst hangover of his life.
Axel is now on track to be released back into the wild in the coming days when vets give him the tick of approval. His story of survival, a lesson for other drivers to always stop and help.
Even if a koala climbs up a tree, they can still have broken jaws and some pretty severe injuries. So if you've hit any animal with your car, even if they run off, they need to have a vet checked.
Brianna Boylan, 10 News.
Well, stay with us. Up next, a development in the US over the detention of a 5-year-old boy by ICE agents. Why Donald Trump is being blamed for the plunging price of gold. And the wild body cam video revealing the secret life of grizzly bears.
Find a fund run for you.
Millionaire Hot Seat kicked off with a big win, with more big wins to come.
Let's give away some more money.
Tomorrow on 10.
Police have reopened the street where a family of 4 died in a horrific murder-suicide. Flowers have been left at the cul-de-sac in Perth's western suburbs where it's understood a mother and father killed their teenage boys before taking their own lives last week. Family friends say both boys had been diagnosed with severe autism and their NDIS funding had been recently cut. Police say their investigation is continuing. A coronial inquest into the tragedy is yet to be announced. And if you or someone you know is experiencing a personal crisis or thinking about suicide, there is support. Call the Lifeline 24-hour crisis hotline on 13 11 14. Dangerous conditions have halted the search for a missing swimmer in Sydney's eastern suburbs. University student Pong Fong Chi was visiting Maruba Beach with his friends when he went for a swim yesterday afternoon. The 31-year-old has not been seen since. 2-metre swells and large winds have proved too hazardous for jet skis and boats today, and the search was scaled back. A helicopter has continued to scan the shoreline and a full search effort is expected to resume tomorrow. To the US now, where a 5-year-old boy held by ICE agents has finally arrived home in Minneapolis. A judge ordered the release of Liam Ramos and his father Adrian after they spent time in a detention centre in Texas. Immigration officers detained the asylum seekers last month after they returned home from preschool. They were welcomed home by city leaders and anti-ICE protesters after their story sparked outrage around the world. Iran has made its most direct threat yet over the deployment of American warships to the Arabian Sea, warning of a broader conflict if the US was to strike. But both sides seem confident in reaching a peace deal, with Tehran's nuclear program at the forefront of those discussions.
A stern warning from Iran's supreme leader amid an ongoing build-up of US military might in the Middle East.
Americans should know that if they start a war, this time it'll be a regional war.
Death to America, the crowd chants, but it's a threat that's been casually dismissed by the man it's aimed at.
Of course you're going to say that, but we have the biggest, most powerful ships in the world over there.
The United States has been deploying additional warships and jets to the region in response to a violent crackdown on anti-government protests over the new year and claims from Donald Trump the regime is rebuilding its nuclear capability following decisive and destructive strikes by America last June. The US president wants a deal to ensure Iran's nuclear program doesn't reach the point of engineering weapons or else.
Hopefully we'll make a deal. If we don't make a deal, then we'll find out whether or not he was right.
If the US negotiation team follows what President Trump said, to come to a fair and equitable deal to ensure that there is no nuclear weapons.
Last week, the European Union designated the Revolutionary Guard, an elite political and military force under the control of the Ayatollah, a terrorist organisation, putting it in the same company as Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. In a tit-for-tat, European armies have been labelled terrorist organisations by Iran. Shame on Europe, the Iranian parliament chants, as it's left increasingly isolated on the world stage and struggling with economic and civil unrest at home. Patrick Murrell, 10 News.
Cuba is suffering from acute fuel shortages as Donald Trump ramps up pressure on its government to make a deal. So will the US force the regime change it has long sought in the communist nation? Cuba has been in the president's sights since the January operation that saw Venezuela's leader, Nicolas Maduro, removed and taken to the US to face criminal charges. That saw shipments from Cuba's largest supplier cut off, with power blackouts worsening and the price of food, fuel and transport all soaring. Last Thursday, Donald Trump went further, signing an executive order threatening additional tariffs on the countries that sell oil to Cuba and labelling the communist-led government an unusual and extraordinary threat to US national security. That prompted Mexico, which supplies around 44% of Cuba's oil, to warn of a humanitarian disaster. But the president isn't backing down.
Well, Cuba's a failing nation. It has been for a long time, but now it doesn't have Venezuela to prop it up. So we're talking to the people from Cuba, the highest people in Cuba.
But Cuba's president has fired back, writing, under a false and baseless pretext, President Trump intends to suffocate the Cuban economy. The situation there is grim, with residents reporting Havana is going without power for up to 12 hours each day, and there is no fuel.
I signed up for a ticket to buy fuel 2 months ago and I still haven't received it.
We don't have gas, we don't have anything. I'm telling you, there needs to be a miracle. I'm not against the country because we've always been, you understand me, Fidel Castro's people, my whole family. I am until I die.
Sometimes when the power goes out, accidents happen because the traffic lights don't work. I sometimes have to leave work early in the morning and there's no light. Look, they just turned off the lights right now.
Cuba's tourism industry, which once generated up to $3 billion a year, is also taking a hit, with hotels empty and tour operators forced to slash prices. It's the largest and one of the most influential organisations in the world, but the United Nations has a budget problem. According to its chief, the UN is at risk of an imminent financial collapse because member states are not paying their fees, and that's putting peacekeeping, vaccinations and development programs at risk. Its 2026 budget is almost 5 billion Australian dollars, but it is set to fall short after the biggest contributor, the United States, didn't pay anything last year. The US currently owes more than $3 billion, for which includes for funding for peacekeeping troops in Africa and the Middle East. Venezuela and Mexico also owe tens of millions of dollars.
As we have consistently said and underscored, assess contributions to the United Nations regular budget and the peacekeeping budget as approved by the General Assembly are legal obligations under the United Nations Charter for every member state, including the United States.
Donald Trump has repeatedly criticised the UN, claiming it is a waste of taxpayers' money. For years, they've been seen as an elusive species, capable of killing anyone who gets too close. But we're now getting a whole new perspective on the lives of grizzly bears, thanks to collar cameras documenting their every move. Researchers in the US have attached cameras to 12 bears that live in the northernmost part of Alaska to understand how they survive. So far, they've had a front row seat to fishing trips, playing, fighting, and plenty of naps. Well, worth watching. We'll stay with us. Up next, a star of Crazy Rich Asians shares how to harness the luck this Lunar New Year, and why this little cherub painting has sparked a government investigation in Italy.
Plus, then the money goes off on Deal or No Deal and Millionaire Hot Seat. Weeknights on 10.
Well, we've still got a month to go of summer, but you wouldn't have been able to tell if you're in Tassie. Snow fell in parts of the state yesterday as temperatures dropped thanks to a cold front. It got some locals excited, one even announcing Christmas had come early or late, depending on which way you look at it. It's not the first time Tasmania has seen summer snowfall, and our meteorologist Josh Holt will have all of the details on that a little later on the bulletin. US President Donald Trump has announced the closure of the John F. Kennedy Memorial Centre for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. for 2 years ahead of upcoming renovations. The move follows several artists cancelling performances after Trump renamed the venue to the Trump Kennedy Centre last year. Some members of JFK's family have denounced the renaming. Venice's Grand Canal has been filled with colour for Carnival this year with an Olympic theme ahead of the Winter Games, which will be hosted in Italy. The tradition dates back hundreds of years, with participants donning costumes and packing into boats. It wouldn't be Carnival without the giant papier-mâché rat leading the flotilla, the long-standing symbol of the event. The Winter Games kick off later this week in Milan and Cortina. An Italian town is pushing back on influencers, bringing in new rules to stop tourists from making quick trips. Santa Maddalena is a small church village in the Dolomites, but after becoming Insta-popular and seeing an influx of day trippers, the UNESCO site has said enough is enough. Beginning in May, access to the village will be restricted by a barrier, with entry only allowed for locals and anyone staying more than one night. Visitors who aren't will be forced to walk 30 minutes from designated parking areas. The local government hasn't yet decided if shuttles will be put on. It's that time of year when lines start dancing and the colour red becomes ubiquitous. We're getting ready to shed the year of the snake and launch into Lunar New Year. And Angela Bishop was at Crown Sydney tonight, where actor Chris Pang hosted a party for the kick-off.
Ursula, I'm in Sydney, where the countdown to Lunar New Year celebrations has officially begun. On the 17th of February, a quarter of the world's 8.2 billion people will celebrate the year of the fire horse. And there's a very special guest here tonight to help explain what's in store. What do you usually do to celebrate Lunar New Year? What's your usual celebration?
Oh, I mean, Lunar New Year's always been a family time.
Right.
It's family, right? And so we get everyone together, we have a nice meal, I get to see all the uncles and aunties that I haven't seen for a long time. Big family event, right? But I think the main draw card for me is you get these little packets of money.
Little packets of money. I'm liking the sound
now
of
we're
this.
talking.
Tell me about working on Crazy Rich Asians. It was such a breakout hit. People love it.
I love it. That's the thing. It was just a good movie.
Where exactly is this party? It's right there.
It was a bunch of people that have the same experience, gathered in the same place, doing something that meant something to all of us.
And the biggest film at the worldwide box office this week, as we speak, is another one you're in. It's called Send Help.
I love it. This film is honestly so fun. You will laugh, you will cry. There's awe moments, but also it's Sam Raimi, so he's a horror genius.
It's scary. We're coming up to the actual Lunar New Year's on the 17th of February. What do we do to ensure we have good luck?
Depending on what year you were born and what animal you are, you might want to wear red underwear.
Red underwear?
For luck.
Red underwear, well, that's noted. Moving on now, if you've ever looked at Italian art, you will have seen plenty of cherubs, the little angels that decorate paintings and frescoes. But if you look closer at one particular painting, you might see a familiar face that's not supposed to be there. The Basilica of St Lawrence dates back to the 6th century and is now home to a marble statue of the last king of Italy, flanked by 2 cherubs. But after a restoration project was carried out, churchgoers noticed that one of the cherubs now closely resembles Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. It caused a bit of a backlash, some criticising the artwork for looking too contemporary and invoking politics, others calling it propaganda. Italy's culture minister and the Diocese of Rome have now launched an investigation, but the painter is defending his work. He claims to have restored the faces to what they were 25 years ago when the artwork was painted, and says that everyone sees what they want to see. Meloni herself also commented on her new likeness, saying she definitely doesn't look like an angel. Not everyone is upset though, some in the parish enjoying the attention and the influx of visitors. Well, coming up on 10's Late News, you'll soon be paying more for your next round of drinks. Why and how much? And what happens when one of the most photographed natural wonders freezes over?
I love you.
I love you.
For the best job matches. And you shall find.
Well, you're watching 10's Late News. Let's take a look at tonight's top stories. Crisis talks between Susan Lee and David Littleproud has failed to reunite the coalition. The leaders of both the Liberal and National parties met tonight in the hope of repairing the rift ahead of tomorrow's question time. A 22-year-old Sunshine Coast woman has been identified as the Australian killed in an accident at a ski resort in Japan. Brooke Day's family said in a statement she will live on forever in their hearts. It's understood she got caught in a ski lift. And New South Wales Police have launched an investigation into their own actions in the hunt for accused triple murderer Julian Ingram. They say the probe will look at what happened in the lead up to the fatal shooting in which his ex-partner, her friend and aunt were also killed. Police believe people are helping Ingram remain on the run. The price of gold plunged further today and it seems to be driven by Donald Trump. Speculation started on Friday that the US president had selected Kevin Warsh to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve. That decision appears to have secured confidence in the US dollar, with investors who had been backing precious metals now looking to sell up. Once prices started falling, a snowball effect happened and holders looked to opt out before losing any profits. The price of gold in Australia sat at just over $6,700 an ounce this evening, down from $7,800 last week. The cost of a night out is set to go up again after the government announced an increase in the tax on alcohol. The excise on spirits is now $108 per litre, with the increase likely to be passed on to consumers. Industry bodies are warning that higher prices on popular drinks such as gin and vodka will hurt an already struggling nighttime economy.
They've already told us that costs are going out. It's really expensive. We've seen that through the habits of people, young people as well.
Last year, the government announced a 2-year freeze on the draft beer tax, and there are now calls to extend that to other forms of alcohol. The 2026 Grammy Awards delivered a fair share of eye-catching moments today. It was equal parts powerful performances, revealing outfits and political statements. Both Bad Bunny and Billie Eilish using their big wins to take aim at Donald Trump's immigration crackdown.
On music's Night of Nights, everyone's usually dressed to the nines, but this year the theme seemed a little revealing.
Chapel, right down the center here.
Chapel Roan in a more than risque number, while Heidi Klum couldn't sit down in a mould of her own body, and Justin Bieber delivered a stripped-back version of his song Yukon.
I pick up whenever you call.
A much more traditionally dressed Bad Bunny made history, the first Spanish-language album to win Album of the Year. The Puerto Rican rapper using his time on stage to make a statement.
Eyes out. We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens, we are humans and we are Americans.
Billie Eilish winning Song of the Year for her 2024 hit Wildflower, also taking aim.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Kendrick Lamar won Best Record, while Tame Impala led the Aussie charge. End of Summer winning Best Dance/Electronic Recording, Our Only Gramophone. Olivia Dean following up her prized Hottest 100 win, taking home Best New Artist, teaming up with her 7 fellow nominees for a mega medley.
The angels up in the clouds, my jealous don't be found. Some so wild, we be ordinary.
Some too messy, and then I'm just too damn clean.
Bruno Mars, Sabrina Carpenter and Lady Gaga, the other acts to grace the stage. The curtain eventually falling on the final edition broadcast by CBS and hosted by Trevor Noah, but not before a tribute to the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne.
Plot destruction.
Olivia Blunden, 10 News.
Well, a neighbourhood in Texas resembled the Australian outback briefly after a kangaroo was spotted on the loose. Authorities were quick to hop to it, capturing the rogue marsupial with the assistance of locals in the outskirts of Houston. Cleveland Police Department confirmed the brew, being kept as a pet, was safely returned to its owner with the help of some good Samaritans. Well, stay with us. Up next, the country where children are now banned from certain train carriages. Plus, Australia's oldest dinosaur find, the discovery dating back 230 million years.
These rogues don't have a care in the world, nor do they have a towel.
Introducing new Wheat Bix Protein Bites, packed with 10 grams of protein to bite your way through the day.
We all love surprises. Some surprises we could really do without. Pet insurance from a Gap-only partner can soften the blow of unexpected vet bills. With pets, the surprises are endless. With pet insurance, the worry isn't.
At Spotlight Summer Savings Sale, VIP save 30 to 50% off ready-to-hang curtains and blinds. VIP save 30% off yarn and art supplies. Plus $5 million clearance on selected curtains from $40 a pair. All backed by our bargain guarantee. Sale on now. At Spotlight, it's what you make it.
Get behind our Tillies as they take on Asia's best.
Come on, Tilly! To the big show. I'm too cool, wanna skip show. To the big show. I work too hard, gotta get more. That is dazzling.
Yeah, the Matildas. Bring it home, girls.
Matildas. Let's go. We're proud of you.
We love you. What's up? I'm new in town. What's up? The wicked down.
Come on, the Tillies. Bring home the cup. Let's go. The Matildas are on fire. Look at them.
Home soil, home fans. It doesn't get any better than that. Get behind us, Australia.
Welcome to the big show.
Welcome back. Australia's oldest dinosaur fossil has been found in a Brisbane suburb. The discovery was actually made by a teenage boy more than 60 years ago in a quarry. Now, after travelling the globe as a professor's teaching tool, the dino footprint has been identified.
A box of treasures discovered in our own backyard.
It was exciting, that's all I remember.
In 1958, Bruce Runniger, a young teenage boy, and his school friends visited Petrie's Quarry in Albion, an open pit mine of sandstone rocks ripe for exploration.
We found things that looked like tracks and trails, and we finally worked out that they were tail traces and footprints.
The discovery sparking Bruce's career, he became a paleontologist.
When I became a professional, it went into my teaching collections, and I've been using the fossil in my teaching collections ever since.
It remained unstudied for almost 60 years until he reached out to the team at the University of Queensland, who officially identified it as Australia's oldest dinosaur fossil.
So we're looking at the Triassic age, and
It is about 230 million years old.
The footprint belongs to a sauropodomorph, an ancestor to the Brachiosaurus. This is how scientists believed it may have looked.
It had a bit of a long neck. It did not walk on four legs. It only walked on its back feet, and it was much smaller.
Buildings across Brisbane, like this old post office, were built with sandstone quarried from the very same spot where Bruce made his discovery, leading the professor to believe there is plenty more dinosaur findings hidden across the city. Unearthing a new era of dinosaur research. Brittany Lane, 10 News.
Well, if you're getting on a train in Europe soon, you might notice a difference. There are no kids around. French railway giant SNCF has brought in child-free carriages, but not everyone is on board. The railway company, which operates almost all trains in France and provides services to neighbouring countries, has introduced a no-kids policy. Anyone under the age of 12 is not allowed on board some business-class cabins, and fines can be imposed. They say the goal is to provide an optimum experience for passengers. France's High Commissioner for Children has decried the ban, calling it shocking and threatening to sue on the basis of discrimination. The World Marathon Challenge kicked off with a chilly start on the first leg in Antarctica. Competitors are required to run 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 consecutive days. They clock up 195 kilometres on foot and spend around 68 hours in the air being transported to each location. The challenge will end with the North American leg in Miami. Well, let's get a bit more detail on that summer snowfall in Tasmania we saw a little earlier in the bulletin. Meteorologist Josh Holt takes a look and has your forecast for the week ahead.
Good evening. Well, we have seen extreme heatwave conditions grip most parts of Australia over the past couple of weeks, but we have seen a significant shift in the weather pattern over the past 24 hours, in fact, bringing some highland snow to areas like Tasmania. This is quite common during summer. It's nothing totally out of the ordinary, but we did get some very cold air coming up from the Southern Ocean, dropping those temperatures overnight. In fact, first thing this morning, Mount Hotham, Victoria, down to minus 3.7 degrees. Perisher in New South Wales got down to minus 2.1. The ACT saw temperatures down into the minuses, in fact, minus 2 in the highland areas. And Tasmania's Mount Wellington also got down to minus 1 degree. So widespread freezing temperatures, and as a result of some precipitation across areas of Tasmania, some of that precipitation tended to snow. But as mentioned, nothing totally unusual for this time of year. As we now take a look at the weather pattern unfolding across Australia as we get through Tuesday. Now, what we've got is a big broad area of high pressure situated in the Tasman Sea. That is somewhat stabilising the weather pattern at the moment. We've got a cold front coming in from the Southern Ocean, which will clip areas of Tasmania over the next couple of days, and another broad area of high pressure to the west of WA. Moving into the rainfall, most of which will be confined to the northern parts of Australia on Tuesday. We're expecting showers and thunderstorms across the Cape and through eastern districts of Queensland, possibly extending from the Wide Bay up through the Capricornia, central and northeast tropical coast, and also some showers and thunderstorms to the western top end and Darwin, hitting a top of 31 degrees tomorrow. Sunny and 31 for Perth. We're looking at another warm day for Adelaide, hitting 32. Sunny skies stretching across the state tomorrow. Sunny for Melbourne with a top of 32. We're looking at overcast skies, but remaining dry for Sydney and 26. Overcast skies for Brisbane as well, hitting 27. Showers and possible thunderstorms for Cairns with 32. And Hobart partly cloudy with a top of 25.
Well, and finally tonight, it is one of the most visited and photographed places in the world. But a few would have had the chance to see Niagara Falls quite like this. It is now partially frozen, with temperatures there dropping as low as minus 16 degrees. The wintry blast isn't deterring visitors, though, with many captivated by the frozen cascades and ice-covered trees. Niagara Falls receives 12 million visitors every year and more than a few proposals. Well, that's all the news you need this Monday night. I'm Ursula Heger. Thanks so much for joining us on 10's Late News. We hope you have a great night. Good night.
The devices